Hello, everyone. I know we have some people joining us in the waiting room and probably just getting connected here, but it is 1 o'clock, so we are going to get started. Welcome to Tastemaker Talk. I am Daphne Davis. I am obviously not who you're used to seeing um, on our webinars, but I'm so excited to be with you today and to be with our guest, Jen from Memberful. They have so much knowledge to offer to us, and we're excited to get started. Before we begin and before I officially introduce Jen to you all, we would like to make quick mention of Tastemaker Conference 2025. It was an incredible event last week, and we are already counting down the days until we can gather together again for Tastemaker 2026. We will be at the JW Marriott in Los Angeles next year, next January. So we're excited to re-enter the community, help it kind of rebuild, and just be a part of its creative force that is in Los Angeles. Early bird pricing for 2026 tickets is currently available. That's going to run through February 2nd. So I will drop a link in the chat if anyone who is here live wants to explore that and buy your ticket now. Definitely recommend doing that now while the prices are still early. And then if anyone's listening after, I will also put the link in the show notes so that you can get your ticket and come join us. Okay, with that being said, we are so excited to be joined by Jen Matichuk. I hope I said your last name right. Okay. For her second appearance on Tastemaker Talk, Jen is here to represent her team at Memberful, where they empower creators to effortlessly build customized membership businesses that generate reliable, recurring revenue while fostering meaningful connections with their audiences. With complete control and ownership over their brands, businesses, and communities, creators have the freedom to craft membership offerings that truly resonate with their followers, fostering deeper connections and loyalty. And Jen is going to tell us all about how you can do that with Memberful today. So I won't take too much time from her. But before we dive in, just a little bit of housekeeping, because we do have some listeners in the audience here live. Please keep yourself muted and off camera because we will be reposting this on the collaborative and on our Spotify. So just make sure that you're listening. And if you have questions, you can drop those in the chat and I will be monitoring the chat. But if we don't get to any questions in real time, we can always ask those just at the end of Jen's presentation. So Jen, welcome back to Tastemaker Talk and thank you for being here. You can go ahead and share your screen and we'll turn the time over to you.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Daphne. Really appreciate it. All right. So today we're going to be going over unlocking membership with Memberful. And I've got 37 slides to get through. So we're going to power through these pretty quickly, but also make sure that we're stopping on the slides that really feel deeply impactful. So my ultimate goal with this is to cover these 5 different pieces. So building audience independence and control, membership is malleable, it's a trusted community with an ideal testing ground, it's not hard, and it's leading to bigger things than you expect. So we're going to break down each of these 5 points with a couple of different examples and a few quotes and all those things along the way. But before we get into that, we're going to talk a little bit more about, diversifying your revenue overall. So one of the things that all these successful long-term creators really have in common is diversified revenue. So not a lot of these big creators that you're seeing, raking in the big bucks are just one revenue stream. They have their hands in many different buckets, trying to bring in as many different versions of that revenue as they possibly can. So if you're relying solely on something like a brand deal or ad revenue on your site, and something happens where one of those dry up, then you're in a pretty tough position. So being able to have this extra source of revenue is a great thing. One thing that also is very positive about membership is, it gives you revenue, but also builds loyalty. Whereas all of these other sources of revenue are not necessarily building that out. Most of them are one-time transactions, or it's somebody who's just visiting your site and leaving. It's not creating that long-term relationship. So, who am I to be talking about all of this? Just a little bit of background on me personally. If you haven't listened to any of the other podcasts I've been on, I've been in this creator world since 2013. My first job were these two hooligans, Rhett and Link. I built out their socials starting in 2013 when social media wasn't really a job yet. And I ran those for 5 years. So I built them from scratch. I really got to know audience very, very deeply and what makes people tick and what people want and how they communicate with folks on the internet. And from that, I ended up building out their current membership program, Mythical Society, on Memberful. And that's how I got moved over to Memberful, and I'm at my current job now. So I've been on the creator side of building out a membership, which has been really, really impactful with helping me build out memberships with people who are in the creative businesses, who are building out their own businesses and want to add membership in. So the most important fact out of all of this is for the last five and a bit years, I have helped over 60 businesses and creators launch and grow very successful membership programs. And that's just like where I've been directly impactful. We have a lot more than that launching on Memberful. But these are folks that I'm still working with today, whether that's like a monthly meeting or quarterly or just checking in here and there. And they're all doing very well. These are a few of those food focused creators that I've launched. And if you stop by the booth at the Tastemaker conference or we've talked in person or online, I've probably mentioned a couple of these, and we'll go a little bit more in depth into these ones as well. So talking about membership, we kind of have to understand membership overall. So with membership, there are over 100 companies right now that allow you to build membership programs, whether that's us or Patreon, our parent company who owns us, or Substack, or MemberPress, or, there's tons and tons and tons of them. And that's 70% more than 5 years ago. So this is really showing that membership is a very viable path, and people are betting big on it. They know that people want memberships, they know they want to build memberships, and so they're growing rapidly. Right now, speaking of us and our parent company, Patreon, we have over 250,000 creators creating and making money on Patreon and Memberful. And we've paid out over $3.5 billion to creators making content on Patreon and Memberful. So now that we have the overview of membership and the impact of it at the moment, we should also talk a little bit more, like just thinking a little bit more about those slides. We've actually gone into a space in the last year and a bit where AI has progressed us even further into the world of changing the landscape beyond just what you were seeing 5 years ago. So I can see things changing rapidly over the next year with AI, where you need to be on it and understanding the changing landscape of diversifying that revenue source that you're looking into. So let's start with building independence and control as that first topic. So this is one of our creators or our customers, a media operator. They started their membership while he was still at his company, Morning Brew. And it was just like a side hustle at that point. He was trying to see if his expertise could translate well over to membership. And since doing that, he actually ended up going full time on his side hustle and was able to use that membership audience and revenue to make that leap to full time. So he created it as like a testing ground to prove something, and it turned into something more than he could have ever imagined and expected. So it really brought out that independence and control side of things. So these three things are really what you should ask yourself when you're talking about membership, or like thinking about membership, or thinking about where you're at in your state of creating. Are you relying on branded revenue, so brand deals? Are you relying on the algorithm, so putting out content that shoots to the top of people's pages, even if that content doesn't really resonate with you or you don't really care about it? Are you relying on an ever-changing platform? So Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, trying to appease whatever is going on. And especially in the current state of all of those platforms, we don't know what's going to happen with that. You don't have control over any of that. And that's something you need to think deeply about if most of your money is coming in through there. Um, Moving on to this next little bit, just talking and expanding on what I just said, that landscape is rapidly shifting. We can't confidently rely on audiences that are found on those social platforms anymore. That's why, as food creators, having your own sites, like pretty much everybody I talked to at Tastemaker had some version of their own site, and having that corner of the internet to have all of your content and all of your creation, that is incredible. And that's the first step to, fully owning and controlling your own independence. So just going back to that social aspect of it, the changing algorithms, the limited reach, business models that are optimized to serve those advertisers leave everybody's, careers, businesses hanging in the balance. And overall, approximately 80% of all membership operators are saying that their programs deliver a level of stability and control that's not achievable by relying solely on social media reach and followers. So moving on to point number 2, membership is malleable. So breaking down, I'm not going to go through each of these. You can screenshot it and take a pic if you want, or take a peek at it after if you want. But these are 6 different membership sales pages for some of our creators. And they are each offering things that are wildly different from the rest. And they're all food creators. So membership being, a malleable place where you can do what you want and figure out what you want to offer to your audience is exactly what we want to show you. Memberful has a lot of different versions of creators beyond people making food content. So if you don't want to have a food focused membership and you want something else instead, we also have the ability to help you build that out as well. Basically, the point that I want to give to you is that what you want to do can be done with membership. You just kind of have to find that part of your content that resonates with your audience enough that they will pay for it. So whether that's knowledge or support or closeness or exclusivity, success can really be had in any of those categories with membership itself. And the next point is, starting small. A lot of people that I'm talking to when they're considering membership, they say, oh, I have to do 500 things to make it worthwhile for people to pay for what I've got going on. Or oh, I already put everything out for free. Like, how could I possibly charge? Because people aren't going to be into that. Well, the biggest thing to note is that if you start small, start with something like an ad-free membership, or start with something like one bonus XYZ per week or per month, people are going to start coming and you could start growing. As your membership is growing, and you can add more to it and listen to the audience that is showing up for you and excited about what you're doing. The main point here is that membership can really fit with anything because it's a natural extension that deepens the value of what you're already doing online. So moving on to the next point, membership is membership is a trusted community with an ideal testing ground. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about Molly because she's a food focused creator and she has a really, really great story. We often say with strong memberships, you're going to see about 5% conversion of your most engaged audience. And that can vary. And if you have a very specific set of knowledge that people really want access to, and you have a really niche community, that 5% can grow tremendously. Like we have knowledge creators, I would say, folks who know a lot about a very specific subject that people are paying a lot of money to understand what they have to say. those folks can convert higher, but 5% is generally the higher end of what you're going to convert if you're not as specialized as some of those knowledge creators. Not saying that people aren't or people won't convert more, but that's kind of like the rule of thumb that I want to tell people 3 to 5%, 5% is on the higher end. So that means, if you look at your newsletter list, let's say you have 1,000 people that are on your newsletter list. If we use this 5% conversion, we can say that you're going to convert 50 members. So that's what you want to work back from and say, okay, if I converted 50 members from my newsletter list, what could I do on my membership that would have a good return on investment? You don't want to do anything too high touch that you're charging low for if only 50 people are going to convert out of your 1,000. But if you are doing something super high touch that you're charging really high for, then 50 people converting could mean a lot of money. So it really depends on what you want to charge, what you want to offer. If that 5% makes sense for you, it's just working backwards. I'm also here to help if you want to have those conversations too. Thinking a little bit more about your community as well and the folks who are converting. Your communities, your street team, they trust you and they believe in you. So you want to nurture that with a dedicated place for them. You want to create a community that they can be involved in. And that's exactly what Molly did. So to tell a little bit of a story about Molly herself, she started her membership actually after leaving Bon Appetit. So she was a little bit of a personality on Bon Appetit on their YouTube channel. She was obviously writing recipes for them and writing for Bon Appetit. But when she left, she hadn't really built out her own personal brand outside of that. So she didn't know, like, will I be able to bring people over to what I'm doing? Will I be able to charge for what I'm doing? And so she started a little bit smaller and just launched with building out one new recipe per week. And to her surprise, her audience, because she had cultivated such an incredible community by sharing with them and being open with them, they showed up and they have continued to show up at her membership and being a part of it. And even till now, she actually ended up losing her house in the LA fires. And she said, okay, if you guys want to support me and help me get through this tough time, the best thing you can do is sign up for $5 a month for my club. And that's going to be the biggest support for me because it's what I love. And I want to create that community of folks that are continuing to show up. And so that's what membership has really, really been able to do for her. She felt okay in the grand scheme of things because she had that sitting with her at the same time. So just a quote from Molly. She says, I love my community. A regular newsletter feels more like an isolated membership where it's just you engaging with your own audience or with your own inbox, but not engaging with somebody who lives down the street who might also be a subscriber. Membership really allows you to feel a part of something and not just one of many subscribers or followers. Interactive benefits give you opportunity to interact fully with your audience, and that is the goal. So talking a little bit more about community in general, membership programs that feature a community see member lifetime values that are approximately twice that of those without communities. So if you wanted to start small and just offer an ad-free membership, for example, that's great. I don't think you should stick with that forever because you do have people that are showing up and creating a space for them, like a community on Discord or Discourse or something where they can communicate with each other, is so valuable for cultivating that community and making it so folks who are like-minded, following your content, can talk with each other and be a part of that. Next up is membership is not hard. So this is probably one of the most important slides that I have. So if you're going to do anything, you should screenshot this slide. This slide has 4 questions that you should be asking yourself when you're thinking about membership. Number 1 is, what can I offer? Obviously, that should be one of your top questions. If you can, by the way, if you can answer all of these, then you're ready to get started, find your platform, and start up. I hope you choose Memberful, but that's not always going to be the case because we don't line up with every single person's needs. But what can I offer? Let's go through a few really quickly. Ad-free content, we've talked about that. Bonus recipes, behind the scenes content about you creating or whatever your process is. Extended content, so if you're already putting out a bunch of content that people want more of, put out more of it and put it behind the paywall. Different content, maybe there's something that you've been wanting to do or wanting to try. This could be a really great place to do that. Why should you offer it? This is a really big question. If you're just putting out something to put out something and you don't really care about it, or you don't know if your audience cares about it at all, then maybe it's not going to be as fruitful for you. Like when people are starting memberships and they don't care about what they're offering, that's going to show up in what they're putting out there. That's if you're not being genuine, your audience knows and your audience can feel that and they don't want to be a part of that. So asking the why is really, really important. Is your audience asking, or have they asked something along the lines of a membership? Are you sick of algorithms and you really want to start creating for your audience and for you? Do you want a closer connection with your audience? Or do you have an awesome idea? How should you offer it? So that's kind of where Memberful can come into play as well. Do you want a members only newsletter? Do you want to put it on your website where people can get exclusive content or just do ad free? Do you want to do through another portal or an app, like an all in one platform like Patreon or Substack or something like that? Do you want to offer a members only podcast that maybe extends beyond what you've been putting out on the internet? And then when? So ASAP obviously is a great option. After surveying your audience. So again, why should I offer it? The audience can answer some of those questions, and maybe after banking some of your content. So it's a really great thought starter exercise to ask yourself those 4 questions and then go from there. And this is just a little quote about starting. I'll just read it word for word. It's from one of our clients, Tom, who has a company called Pack Hacker, which is all about, it's a very niche and specific company all about literally packing things for trips. And he's expanded beyond just that, but it's awesome. He says, you can get all this advice and eventually it all cancels out. You just have to start at some point. If you are a perfectionist, start small and then add a little every week. Then all of a sudden, you're going to have something a lot bigger. Anything's better than not starting at all. It's so hard to start, but once you get going, the momentum is different. And I feel like sometimes folks who are creating are kind of in this never ending loop of I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And they never step back and look at, okay, well, what if I didn't have to do all of these things and I can fit this in here and I can start building out this? You have to take that step back in order to start something new. Another big thing is 90% of first time memberships start with 3 benefits or less. So again, starting small. You don't want to put out a million things and then have to manage a million things. You can start with 1 or 2 things. Going back to Molly, all she had was 1 recipe a week. That's it. Of course, she has to develop the recipe, and I don't know how hard that is because I've never developed a recipe. But that's what she was offering her audience, and they were there for it. So the next piece is membership is leading to bigger things than you expect. So there are a few different potential outcomes when you can think about membership. Obviously, this is not all of them, but a really nice one is very specific, provable data of audience size for future brand deals. You can tell a brand, hey, I have 300 people that pay me $5 a month, and I know that they're going to show up for this. That's a really good thing to share with a brand. That's proven revenue from your audience. An extra revenue stream to build previously unattainable products or content. That's really helpful too if you want to expand and grow. Birth of new products or ventures within. So maybe communicating with your audience or your audience communicating with each other, they've helped spark an idea of something that you want to do or want to try. And then finally, possible acquisition. We've had a few folks that have built out such successful membership programs and products that they have been acquired or have been offered to be acquired by bigger companies so that they can, they're not selling out, but so that they can even continue to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. So, more than ever, larger organizations are exploring ways to create intimate experiences for current and potential customers. Independent membership programs are being acquired at levels that we've never seen before. These huge companies, like, I'm just going to say New York Times is the only one I can think of right now. These huge, huge companies that haven't been able to be niche want to be niche, and they want those niche audiences. So if you have that and you're able to grow that, that is just going to make your value go up and up and up. Overall, and if you stop by the Tastemaker booth, you probably heard me say this, membership should be one piece of your revenue pie. Your revenue pie is not going to be 90% membership. That's not often the case. It's maybe going to be a quarter or 15% or whatever you want. But it's a part of your pie that is recurring and always going to be there and not going to drastically change unless, of course, you add a million new members, and that's awesome, and then it's going to take up so much of your revenue pie. But it should be one part of it, and it's up to you to decide what feels like success in terms of the percentage of that pie. So this is the other really important slide that would be helpful to screenshot or come back to, is the next steps slide. So once you've asked those questions, that the other slide I told you to screenshot, these are the next steps that you should take. Review your current content and your output level. Take a peek at what you're already doing and what you could do on membership. Number 2, talk to your audience, build out a survey, anything like that. Number 3, come up with one thing to start with. And number 4, start testing. Just like Tom says in the Pack Hacker comment, you need to test and you need to try and you need to start in order to make anything happen. And I'm sure when you first started your business, that's the similar thing that happened to you. Finally, 30% increase year over year on revenue just by adding membership to your brand. That's average. Some people grow much more than that. Some people grow a little bit smaller than that, but still, adding a membership, you're only going to increase your revenue. You're not going to cannibalize anything else. So it feels like a no-brainer to put it into what you've already got going on. And that is my presentation. So thank you. I really,
Thank you.
really ran through that fast.
No, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Jen. I feel like, I mean, I was a tastemaker, but obviously I didn't get a chance to stop by your booth. And so it's really fascinating to hear everything that membership can offer. Um, and if anyone, oh, I think it's just you and me now. It
Oh,
looks like we did have someone in the waiting room. So I was gonna say drop a question. But really quickly before we go, I was just thinking that this presentation is very timely, especially given like the TikTok ban and everything that happened there. I know that a lot of creators, like what you were saying about diversifying your revenue pie and how membership can be a really solid part of that. I think that will resonate with a lot of creators because a lot of people were shaken up by
yeah.
the TikTok ban, even though, it came back, whatever. I don't really know what's happening with that.
Well, we still don't know if
Um,
it's going to stick around.
well,
So,
exactly. And so I think that was kind of a wake up call for a lot of people who maybe were relying on just one, the algorithm or one app to take a next step into looking into membership or some of these other options. And I know that a lot of people are looking at like Substack or maybe Medium to sort of monetize their email list specifically. Um, what do you think about that? Or how would you say that membership is similar to that approach? Or maybe what does it add that simply like Substack is maybe missing?
yeah, I mean, when we talk about owning what you've got going on, if you're launching on a platform that you're putting your content on that isn't yours, that's not ownership, that you're not
Mm-hmm.
owning that. And if you decide that, down the line, Substack doesn't make the most sense for you, you have to be able to move that over to something else or something that you
Mm,
already own. So I think that Substack is a great product, and I think that it can serve a very specific type of creator and help them
mhm,
in their journey of being a creator. Um, I don't think it's for everybody, and I think some people make mistakes by launching on Substack versus launching off of their own site. Um,
mm,
so where Memberful comes in handy, we actually have migrated a lot of people from Substack over to Memberful because
mm,
they're like, I should have started here. Um, where Memberful comes in handy is that you can just build in your own site and
mm,
you can use your own place and you can have your own corner of the internet that you are owning and you are in control of, and you're not beholden to the whims of a platform.
mhm. I love that. I love that. That's great to hear. And that's great advice. I think that's really empowering, especially for a lot of our creators who maybe do already have that site and that place. So I think it makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
for our audience, which is why I'm so happy that you joined us today and also that you were at Tastemaker 2025. Because I
Yeah.
think it's a great product and a great opportunity for a lot of people. So thank you for sharing.
Of course.
Okay, well, that concludes us. And again, thank you to Jen and Memberful for joining us on our last episode of Tastemaker Talk for season one, which is really exciting. We hope that anyone listening to the replay or watching the replay feels more empowered than ever to connect with their audience through meaningful memberships. And we hope that you'll consider working with Jen and the Memberful team to make that happen. Um, Jen, before we let you go, is there anywhere that people can get in touch if they want to learn more or talk to you specifically?
Yeah, definitely. So you can send me a note via email. Jen, at memberful.com is the simplest way to do it. Or if you just sign up for Memberful, you can always just talk to our team that is on the help desk.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much. We will be posting this in the Tastemaker Collaborative and on Spotify as audio for anyone who wants to reference those slides and take screenshots that you were talking about, because there's so much good information in there. So we will get to work on that on our end, and we hope to see everyone who's listening today at Tastemaker 2026 at the JW Marriott in LA. And that's it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having
We'll
me.
see ya. Bye.